Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Shares, where we add value to people's lives, happening every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday on ebizradio.com. The Lunchtime series is also available on all major podcast channels. Go and check it out, like, share, and subscribe. Guys, back with us, we have Laurenbritz all the way from Fort Lauderdale. Candid conversations with my cousin. Okay, go, Lauren. How are you doing?
I love it. I'm doing so good. I'm doing wonderful. Florida is always beautiful, and I'm really, really looking forward to putting on a long sleeve at some point. That should happen maybe in the next month or two.
You guys don't really have winter per se, right?
So I definitely want to make sure everybody understands that America is a cold, cold, cold country. Very cold. Way colder than I thought it was. But Florida kind of sticks out in the ocean by itself. And we don't have very cold winters. No, we probably have about 2 weeks where it's kind of chilly. You know, you got to put your coat on and your boots. But up until then, you can get away with like a sweater and every now and then a good beach day too. So, you know, it's not that bad. Really, not at all. We just kind of enjoy it because we get to pull out that part of our closet. So, to be honest, it's awesome. And also the other thing that starts happening at this time, which is also something I learned only when I started living here, really, the actual concept of it was when business takes place in America, the summer is, you know, time for downtime. And really it's really September, October, where people start coming out again. I call it silly season. Everybody starts coming out of the woodworks, and now everybody's headed, focused, and they focus all the way through to May. So through the holidays, all the way through to May until the next break for the summer. So yes,
we do that. We're like, we can't wait for November because November's like, oh, finally, why just 15 more days?
Right. So we're like getting ready to ramp up. We've just come off a lull of the summer, and America's getting ready to warm up and ramp up, and they do this during the holiday season. Of course, we do take a big break a few days break for Thanksgiving, and then a couple of days for Christmas and New Year's. So that's about it, though.
Part of our conversations we've had in the last couple of months is really around business trends and what's happening. Yourself being a business owner and myself being a business owner, and looking at, you know, what the world's doing and how it's affected, you know, especially because we're in two different countries. You're from all the way from the US, and in South Africa. Sometimes we experience the very same thing, but very differently in a different country, right?
Absolutely.
Today, with the 11 current business trends happening in 2021, 2022 around data insights and predictions. And the very first one that's on the list of the trends that we're looking at comes from a website, comparecamp.com, looking at those business trends. And one of the things is the on-demand economy shift. And, you know, that on-demand economy shift really being, being in the palm of your hand, to put it shortly. You know, are you guys experiencing, I mean, you obviously have experienced that in a big way as the US. I know that South Africa, we've looked at some of the apps that's come to light with the pandemic, and we've looked at how stuff has really amped up in, you know, service delivery, but on demand right now. And for South Africa, really picked up. So, I mean, how's the US? I mean, like, how do you guys experience that trend?
You know, with all due respect, you know, the US is the place on earth that does do on demand at the best. You know, they want it and they want it now. And one of the things, and it's so weird, this is where my personal world and my business world kind of came, and it's one thing that sticks out in my mind during COVID, sort of now after COVID, going forward. I think like something like grocery shopping became impossible to do, difficult, blah blah blah. You couldn't go out. Suddenly all these apps delivering food, including Amazon, who owns one of our big stores here. started delivering food within hours to your house. You can have memberships. I can literally go and order something now to be in my house in an hour. And that revolutionized things, because the truth is, as a businesswoman who owns 2 companies, I'm the CEO of a yacht services company, and I'm the founder and creative director and CEO of my own creative company. I didn't find time to go do the shopping. Even though COVID just became irrelevant in that sense. I just didn't have the time anymore. And there it was, thanks to COVID. So I just continued to use it. And I still use it. And is it more expensive? I'm paying a delivery fee. But this is just one tiny example of how my life was revolutionized. And where my work life and my private life started making a difference to each other. Now I don't need to worry about grocery shopping, and I get more time behind my desk and behind my clients, for sure. And that's one tiny example. So,
but the interesting stat they share here is today about 49% of adult consumers avoid leaving their homes. Also, about 50% of them work entirely or partially from home. And social distancing, because of social distancing, is being observed by around 57% of consumers. So, I mean, obviously the pandemic has led to this, and wanting for us to, not have to go into a public space. But from a business perspective, I agree with you. Like, being a business owner, I don't want to stand in a queue. I don't want to go shopping. I don't want to pick, I'm like, half the time I'm going to knock someone with a trolley, and I'm like, move, lady.
It's, it's out there, and it makes it harder with all the restrictions and all this. And I think a lot of business owners, once they get going, once they get focused, they don't want to stop. They just want to keep the momentum going. And sometimes, honestly, I know it sounds crazy, but honestly, stopping to do the groceries, which is important. It's important to take care of your health. So to me, it just worked wonders, and that is a tiny thing. People are in their homes. People don't want to go outside. Everybody has a different level of comfort. Now you can order ice cream and alcohol even, and whatever you like, Now you got Postmates. He'll go shop for you everywhere if you like. He'll go to 10 stores for you. It's revolutionary, and not to mention all the business tools that came in. That literally you can do business and do it well from your tablet, from your phone, from your couch, in your pajamas.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So, the second one that they mention here is the implementation of contactless payment options, right? Which for us has only recently surfaced. I remember Samsung came out with that, where you could actually connect in the last 2 years, really connect with your credit card or your payment card. And only recently in South Africa has that become an option for some of our biggest banks. Up until recently, we haven't had a lot of that sort of contactless kind of payment options. But I think, if you look at it, you can recognize, the US obviously does it far quicker than we usually do. But like, what does that speak to how we actually spending money, and how quickly? Because now it's just tap and go. I don't even want a piece of paper to even print it out. Just tap and go, and I'm off and doing my thing.
Yeah, I do want to also just input. There are other trends that have actually set South Africa's banking system up better than any banking system in the world. And I stand corrected, but I'm pretty sure South Africa has one of the best in the world. And America, and I'm sure there's many dimensions to this, but on a standard personalized banking system, America is actually quite behind. They've had to catch up enormously. In the 16 years I've lived here, it is completely different now from when I arrived. Just checks alone. South Africans don't use checks. We never really have in our lives. Maybe our parents. Yeah. But, because of the trend of all the fraud in our country, especially at the time, our banking system became, like a secure vault for people. And that's what pushed that trend. Now you get COVID, now you get this contactless. Yes, that's pushing that trend across the whole world. But to be honest, we still use checks. I got 5 checkbooks under my desk here. It's weird. But it's even weird for me to write a check still. It's kind of strange. But now contactless is everything. I would not say anybody does it better than anybody. I think we just implement probably a little bit faster, but the technology is the same. Now you just tap and go. We keep big eyes on our bank accounts because we do have quite a lot of fraudulent transactions on a monthly basis that we have to go in and reverse. But the truth is that it's definitely increased spending. People need to become more aware. I take it upon myself to become more aware of what I'm spending money on, just because I can tap away all day long. I prefer it. South Africa's had a lot of contactless options, actually, no cash. They come to your table with a card machine. You don't have to go and, but I think this has definitely driven consumerism for sure. Absolutely. But it makes it easier. So really, I prefer it that way.
What's interesting is that, as a stat, MasterCard says also that the contactless payments have jumped up by 40%, according to MasterCard. So, when you kind of look at just having to tap and go, it's increasingly important because also the contamination factor. People are even now that people are vaccinated, I'm one of them. I'm like, cool, I'd rather not touch anything. I'll just tap and see, does it go through? Do I have to touch the card machine?
I've always been like that with my personal space, but I'll tell you what's the most contactless thing that showed up is QR codes. QR codes have been around for a long time, actually. And they kind of were technology. Everyone's like, oh, this is cute. It's cute, but why does anybody really need it? Now it's essential. Now you roll up to, any of these wonderful restaurants on our ocean here. Yeah. You just take out your phone, point a picture at it, and off you go. We even have QR codes for our business cards these days. We do have business cards, but sometimes people don't want to touch. Just point your camera at my phone and you have all my details. Yeah. Amazing.
So one of the things that they mention here, which I had to look up because I was like, well, I don't know what this is. And that's quite a trend happening in America, which is interesting because I want to get your idea on this as well, is the American Locavore. And guys, for those who don't know what a locavore is, I had to go and look it up. A locavore is a person whose diet consists only or principally of locally grown or produced food. So, Lars, you and I have chatted about the importance of diets before and, why it's important to know this. But, I think considering the pandemic, considering the world we're living in, it's become a considerable, reason for why people want to just shop with their locals, right? I want to just read a quick note here. Even the big guys such as Amazon, as you mentioned, Walmart and Instacart had a boost of up to 65% in sales from grocery delivery services. Yep. So, as a trend, clearly business is getting to a point where we don't want to have to, be uncomfortable to have to take care of things like this. And shopping at your local farm or your local store, your local producer that's in and around your area, so important. And I think health sort of ties right into that. Like, what are we eating? Why are we doing it? And
I think a lot of Americans, look, food is under attack, has been for a long time. And I think a lot of people are only waking up to it now. I woke up to it because I had a chronic illness. That will wake you up to it. But I think people are slowly starting to realize, okay, even food shortages are starting to become a conversation. So I think Americans and people in the world are taking it, and probably in many other parts of the world, are taking it even one step further. And instead of just shopping with your locals, who have generally also been affected by the governments or mandates or other laws, they are actually starting to grow their own food. People are starting to grow their own food in the backyard. I mean, I have pineapples even growing in my backyard. It takes a minute, but I don't have a farm in the backyard, but I could have. I could very easily do that. And I think a lot of these locavores are actually also doing that, but they become the new local shop to shop at. So they're doing it for themselves, but they're doing it in groups. So there's like, it's kind of funny because every time 10 of my favorite friends rock up here, we talk about, grabbing a tiny home each and like pulling it onto some piece of land somewhere and each growing something in specific. That I think is what people are actually doing. And they are starting to become the new farmer, the new grower, there's places here where everybody has a job and everybody shares. It's all like back to the barter, here's your cucumbers and here's tomatoes for you. And people are actually starting to live like that. Now, different states don't allow that yet. There's actually laws against sort of squatting in a tiny home, so you got to think about that as well. But I find it very exciting. I feel like the traditional way of owning a home and growing food, obviously for a South African who grew up on a farm with a farmer for a grandfather, I picked my food out of the backyard. So I'm very excited about this movement. I really am.
That's what's exciting about, from a South African perspective, where we are encouraged to do that.
And so many people.
Entrepreneurs are like, go out, if you can, grow your own food, sell your own food if you can. It's a whole different thing here.
And I think just to put it in a quick South African perspective, we mentioned it quickly the other day when we were chatting. I said to you, man, I saw this guy in South Africa, like I couldn't remember where exactly he was. He was in a township and in a home, and there was a lot of trash lying around. He took his buddies, he cleaned it up. He's growing food for his whole village, his whole town. He's now a locavore too, the best, just there it is, and there you're doing it. And I absolutely, that excites me in a way that, it's amazing. I love it. That's the way it should be.
Another amazing trend that's, and I'm guilty of it. So I can already see how this is influencing the way I spend or buy anything, is the e-commerce dominance and the social commerce growth. So in one purchase survey that was done, it found that 55% of Gen Zers fashion purchase was inspired by social media browsing, and about up to 50.6% of millennials. So already, half of our population in the world, and half of that is already purchasing, literally just via social media. That's how they do their general purchases, which is, I'm guilty of that. It's having such an influence. Social media is having such an influence on how we do. And we just heard it about the recent, that other big social network that we
yes, that big oopsie. Yeah, the world kind of stopped yesterday, and I didn't even notice for a minute because I took one day off. That's how fast everything happens. And I think it's targeted now. So we got to ask ourselves a question: is social media making us buy something, or are we simply being targeted who we are?
Yeah.
And they're allowing us to purchase easier. So I think it's both. I mean, if you have a problem with shopping, you should go to a shopping, you should have that problem looked at. But I think everything's just happening much faster.
Yeah.
Honestly, sometimes I don't mind the target. It gets me to what I'm looking for much faster.
Yeah.
But is it influencing how much I purchase? Probably. I'm actually have to be more cautious. Look, here in America, Amazon delivers within hours too. So, I mean, that's crazy. You need something and it's here tomorrow morning. It's crazy to shop that way. But I take it upon myself personally to use everything I buy, and I don't make purchases that I don't need. Even in a world like today, like I don't like clutter. So there we go. But
And that also gets us to ask, but begs the question that how do we then, as business owners, as small business owners, as medium enterprise owners, how are you actually targeting that? Are you still skeptical about the social media and how social media influences what we do? And if you are, you seriously need to get on that train, because people, and if you just look at the important decision makers of the next 10 years, a lot of those decision makers are going to be millennials. They are millennials sort of running the world. So we have to kind of think, we got to look at these trends and kind of be aware and fit ourselves into what is the world doing and how are we adapting to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think as humans, we have a tendency to want to reject things. Like, I've asked a lot of my friends in South Africa, why aren't you on Instagram? I don't know, because cell phones work different in South Africa. Data is a thing. You don't have this broadband internet where you just have this free for all, which is amazing. So people are cautious about their data and what pulls and what picture doesn't and what they go watch on YouTube. Often, I know there is, unlimited data as well, but it's expensive. So I think people they tend to be more cautious about going online there. Where here, it's like there's very few people I don't know are not online. For business, mostly, really. And for personal, like for me, every day I like to post a picture, because if I one day lose my mind, I will go and have it's my photo album, it's my new photo album. Yeah. But I also grew up completely different. I did not grow up as a millennial like this. Yeah. And or a new gen or Gen X. I think what happens is, for me, is I realize we are going to keep moving into other things that are going to blow our minds. I'm pretty sure when the calculator came out, that blew people's minds. I remember my mom telling me she had to save up all her money to buy a calculator. She had to do everything manually before. So that was life-changing for their business at the time, and that was not that long ago. So think about it like that. We're not living in the worst time ever. There were 2 world wars and a few other, like many other wars, right? So there's always some sort of tragedy. There's always some sort of innovation that blows your mind. I just roll with the punches, and I use it for what it is good for me for. I feel I have great integrity, so I generally don't use things to cause revenge, hurt people and cause chaos. So I take those things, if they make my world easier and they more efficient, I'm down to listen.
Yeah.
If I decide that, no, I don't need that, then I don't need it. That's as simple as that. So I roll with it.
The next trend that they talk about is increased collaboration with influencers. When I first heard about influencers, I was like, that's Kim Kardashian, right? That's all I knew about.
Yes and no.
Yes and no, right? But an influencer marketing industry, if allowed to be called that, has been booming. Last year, there's 380 new and we're speaking predominantly America, yes, but 380 new influencer-focused marketing agencies and platforms were established. And I'm kind of going, an agency, like an actual agency for influencer marketing. And one of the reasons that they give here, which I thought was really interesting, was people are tired of being advertised to. And there's subscriptions, those subscriptions that you pay for to have no ads. YouTube does that. Pay for a subscription, don't have ads, and then you can just watch what you're watching. But, influencer marketing is real. It's a real thing where it's part of our lives now.
It's real. And this is how a lot of people shop. Yeah. And it's real. It's not all influencers. Yeah, there are a lot of influencers out there, I'm sure, that are subpar and selling rubbish and whatever. But just like anything, just like a shop that's down the road that does the same thing. At the end of the day, you go and find the influencer that suits you best. There's a particular influencer, there's actually 2. And the reason I know this trend is true is because I've been getting more influencer clients to photograph for. And now these are my ongoing clients every month. It's amazing. And I love it because We get to create something cool every month or twice a month or every time we're together. And we're very purposeful about it. These influencers, the ones I work with, there's two things. For me personally, I love them. They make my life easy. If I'm going to a wedding and I need a pink dress, I just, oh, please find me a pink dress that's not $400. And they'll pop up, oh, look at this one, looks the same, it's $20. Yay. And I can get it tomorrow, right? And then she also gets paid because I bought it through her links and her affiliate links. So that's why not? She went and found me an outfit and she got paid. You know, the other one is a mom. She's an entrepreneur. She has a new baby. And there's so much to talk about. She feels inspired to go out and talk. She's very purposeful about her business. She comes in, she knows what her goals are, blah, blah, blah. Like, these are micro business owners and they are making a difference. Some of them work with people in South Africa even. In fact, the one that I'm working with is an influencer for products that come out of South Africa as well, for women in need, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think people need to just shift their minds a little bit about the whole, you think you're an influencer, darling. Like, why are we rejecting this so much? So what if she's an influencer? You know, we all influencers on some level. We all have something to say.
And what's interesting about the stats here is estimated influencer marketing growth from year-on-year growth is moved up from in 2019 from 6.5 billion US dollars. In 2020 moved up to 9.7 billion US dollars. So
they shift fast.
It's not going down. It's growing. It's amazing.
It's not going away. And I've said to some of my friends, you know, pop on Instagram and just check out my life. You might get a different idea of, I can't talk to you every day. It's not plausible. Like, you might get a better idea into my life just in general as well. It opens up so many doors for our friends. If I know my friend is living in Portugal, I got another place to go visit, right? I think people need to be more open and less, you know, resistant of influencers, and find the ones you like and ignore the ones you don't.
So one of the other ones that they mention here is remote work is on the rise, which we know. It's an obvious thing that's just part of our lives right now. And it's really important for people to start recognizing, and for organizations to start recognizing the importance of remote work. Research has found that 67% people would leave their jobs if work flexibility was reduced or removed. And also save companies. It also saves companies money, and 50% to 60% of on-site office desks and equipment aren't being used. They can save on electricity and depreciating costs, among others. So, there's so many ups to remote working. But, from a personal perspective and being a coach and, working with people all the time, there is part of it that is a little bit scary from disconnecting. People are disconnecting in such a big way. But that also speaks to, how are we employing people and how are we connecting to people, and, what are employees doing?
Honestly, I think where there's a disconnection, there's a reconnection available around the corner. And the reason I say this is because I am an example of this. I run two businesses. I do have a home office, but I also, again, feel very disconnected sometimes. Also, I have little creatures at home that interfere with my work a great deal. So, animals and, all that kind of stuff. So sometimes I need to get away. So I have a workplace that I go. It's a co-work space. Yeah. There's people there that are permanently there. By the way, everything is made of glass. You can see everybody, We are actually now a big family. I mean, I could, if I need a lawyer, a plumber, you name it, I am integrated into that group. I don't just go and sit there. They have, happy hour and this. And I mean, just merely sitting there in front of each other. Some of them have their private offices permanently in there. I just pop in to use the co-work spaces. There's a coffee bar. I sit at my desk and I order coffee and it shows up at my workspace. And I'm like, thank you, Ryan. And he brings me a muffin. Yeah. Now I met Ryan, the barista behind the bar. how isolated am I now? Now that I'm co-working in a remote space, I've met 1,000 new people. Yeah. And I can meet 1 million more if I just ask people for other people. And the truth is, one disconnection in an office space that represents the Industrial Revolution, this is a much better office space. There's no, the truth is, in the last 16 years of living in America, I worked for a crazy corporate organization when the motto was sleep when you die. That was their motto. Now it's do whatever you need to do to get your work done and done well.
But you see, the challenge with that is you as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you're capable of doing that.
I have forged the habits. Yes.
When it comes to an employee, they kind of go, oh, well, it's my job. I know I have to be here, or I have to log in.
We need to teach the employees different. We have to set the mindset. We have to, as leaders. When I'm already starting to hire. So I've hired in part-time. I'm going to slowly start hiring in full-time, blah, 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 right? And we hire a lot of contractors too. So I am very particular about how I do that with the people I hire. I expect them to function that way. If they don't know how, we need to make sure they figure it out. I don't want people being like, I'm an employee and it's 5 minutes past my break. Like, I can't do that. That's not going to happen. This job is going to be part of your family, and I'm going to give you everything you need to set you up right. What you bring to it will be what we discuss in the interview process. Yeah. But, I think as leaders, we need to change the mindset. I'm not saying every person can work that way, but we need to find a way to get people on that track. I think most people can.
I think that's also what people are starting to question, so the way of work that it has been in the last 50 years has been very structured to being, I have to see you to know that you're working. And we are, if we look at the millennials, look at the Gen Zs, they're kind of going, well, tell me what you want me to do. Let me do it. I'll get it done. And then I'll send it to you on Thursday, and they don't want to be checked upon. So half the people want to work at 3 o'clock in the morning. Other people want to work from 7 to 12,
Yeah. And I mean, look, it depends on your job. At the end of the day, I need people during the day and in very specific times. Like, if you're not available for that, see you later. We just don't hire you. But the truth is that there are going to be people that are right for certain things. Some people like to work through the night. Great, go work, find a night job, or night work or something where you can have your own calendar and your own timing. But I do think we need to give people more credit. I think also, Kev, we have to realize that what's happened is people, because they worked for corporations, they've waited for corporations to tell them what to do, to tell them who they are. Now it's the opposite. I don't want to tell you who you are. I want you to be the kind of person to show up. That's what I'm looking for. And then I will support you.
That's a whole paradigm shift,
it's a whole paradigm shift. Yeah, very hard. I think it will take a minute with some people.
So another one that's really a trend, which is really cool to see, is better focus on employee happiness, right? So researchers found that employees are happiest when they are feeling or they feel like they are contributing to meaningful work. And there's also on the site that you guys can check it out on TED. This is what makes employees happy at work. It's an actual chat that someone shares on YouTube. And in the beginning line, he kind of speaks to they've really done surveys on just about everyone and anyone when it comes to happiness at work. And the one thing they know is everyone and anyone wants the same thing, right? Doesn't matter what work you're doing, doesn't matter where you're working, what type of job it is. Everybody wants to know that there's a meaningful opportunity at the end of this and they actually contributing, which is really cool. Like, you kind of, you consider employee happiness is such a vague kind of thing half the time. But if you look at some of the top 5 US companies, Netflix up at number 1 for employees. Bloomberg, Service, Google, Tesla.
Bloomberg, huh?
So,
yeah.
And if
I can see why. I've spoken to quite a few people who actually work for Tesla personally, and they love it. They love it. They absolutely love it.
And I think the fact that it's becoming a trend in the world in business to kind of go, okay, cool, this is stuff that we need to start paying attention to, because with unhappy employees, like we're not as successful as we could be.
Well, I mean, any business person who doesn't get that already now needs to really fast forward the button, hit the fast forward button. Because the truth is, it's not so much that it's becoming a trend in business. It's important to me as a human being. It's part of my value system. It's the way I want it to be treated, with respect and dignity, because I'm a smart individual. I'm not an idiot because I'm your employee. It doesn't work that way. Employees, and I'll give you actual examples. I mean, my photography assistant, who I struggle to find. You'd think I'd be able to find millions of photography assistants, right? But not the right one. It's so important to have the right photographer. She doesn't just pick up things and walk around. She's integral. She's my other eyeballs. She's the organizer. She's the, client happy maker. She's the everything. If she's not on point, and I pay her prime rates way above, whatever the average wage is, because I don't want her to disappear, and I want her to know how important she is to me. And the same with, our contractors that work in our other business. What do you need to make you successful? It's blazing hot in Florida. You're working out on yachts, on docks. You need sunscreen. You need hats. You need, uniforms that cover you so you don't get burnt to crisps. You need a fan. You need a water bottle that's reusable. What else do you need? You need an iPad on the dock. You got it. What else do you need? I want to make sure you need training. People don't. That's notoriously something, and I'm going to just put it down to Florida because I don't know about the rest of America, but it's notoriously something that doesn't happen here. Training. Okay, so training is something that you give your employee. This is a gift, and you get them. But of course,
any great trainers, Lauren.
Can you come here and train people, please?
We can do it online too. We can do it online.
There's like 20 companies I've got on the list for you. But the truth is, the employee has to come with the right attitude. You can't give the attitude. You can give everything, which a lot of employers don't. They really need to start caring a lot more. But yes, the employee has to come with their part, their 50%, and their attitude. There's nothing you can do about that part. They need to come with the right attitude. And I think that it's very important that happy employees are going to make you. Elon Musk is maybe one of the best examples of it. He said it a million times. I employ the best in the world, the best brains to be in my room, and then I keep them happy.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's true, I think employees, and as we know with the pandemic, it's really pushed that button. And without our employees, businesses they don't exist, right? So the happiness is important. And one of the other ones that they mentioned that we're going to end off with today is the improved personalization on omni-channel experience. And when I first heard of omni-channel experience, from a small business owner, that is not necessarily a thing that you start paying attention to or that you even know that exists. But it's become so important because as an omni-channel, and omni-channel really being able to service and provide information to more than one channel to your audience, and customers want to be addressed as a unique person and with unique needs. They also want to be able to receive services no matter what channel they choose, right? So it's really it becomes a significant point of entry if you're sharing information, if you are putting yourself out there as a brand. How are you doing that most effectively? And as a trend, you've got to start paying attention to how to do that more readily.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably That's a big one because every channel is slightly different things, different, platforms, different audiences. But I think it's important and definitely be important for the marketing team. But also not just even on the marketing side, but actually your actual network.
Yeah.
And how you're omni-channeling your network. And are you using your network? Or there people in your network that are just kind of stale and you need to relook at that. But definitely trying to get everybody's attention and personalize everything is a challenge. But I think you can use your business processes to do that as well, to really make sure you're serving your clients' needs, depending on what the service is,
And an interesting stat that they share is, remember that 79% of customers will stop doing business with brands after one bad experience, but omni-channel shoppers are seen to be loyal, right? So it's a nice, it's a trend to be aware of. It's something to think about.
It'll actually be interesting to see more on how to actually put that together. More information on creating omni-channels that are very, that create loyal followers and loyal clients and loyal buyers and consumers. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, even I just think of when I'm searching for anything that I'm looking for, I might see an advert of it on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. Immediately, if I want to know more information, I don't go to Google anymore. I go to YouTube, so I want to know, so where do I find this? How does it work? Et cetera, et cetera. So for me, it's, you need more than one place of entry for me to be a buying customer. So, it is important. I think it's the how and how to actually tap into that becomes a bit of a challenge that we need to consider.
Right. Absolutely. It probably builds a lot of more credibility as well across platforms if you're doing it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's so much out there, right, that is not right for us. So I think sometimes the target is on point. Sometimes I get targeted and I'm like, this is the wrong target for the wrong person. But it is interesting to see how, if that is the route to loyal customers, that is definitely something to really spend some time looking into.
Yeah. So part of what it mentions here to close off today's chat is, it seems that we are moving into a person-centric phase of capitalism where the I is at the forefront. And, just to leave it there, I think, we've had so many discussions already around why, the customer is important, why you want to climb into the customer's mind, why you want to, understand where they're coming from.
Definitely.
So that when you're delivering any kind of service, you're really supporting that and understanding what it is that you want to deliver. So some really awesome trends to be considering.
Oh, no, for sure. And I think if I just even think about how some of my business funnels are set up, they are set up very customer centric. So by the time you're in the funnel, I know you're already half committed, and I know you. I can see you, the actual client, not just the product or the service. So yeah, it's very interesting. I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on those trends. That's for sure.
Fantastic. Lars, thank you for chatting. Thank you for sharing your insights, your views, and your opinion all the way from across the oceans. Guys, this is Candid Conversation with My Cousins, happening every other week, where we are chatting and sharing some valuable information. I know that we have a really interesting guest who is joining us next time. And
yes.
Do you want to tell us more about, or a bit of tidbit of
absolutely. I can definitely tell you a little bit more. We will be hosting a business coach all the way from Florida, United States of America, based out of Fort Lauderdale. His name is Coach Frank Lind. He's a business performance coach and very inspiring individual. He's also a very grand mindset coach. So anybody who's interested in those two things, business performance and mindset, will get quite a kick out of our little trio of conversation here, I think, on that day. It'll be slightly prepped, but also candid. So Frank has a lot to share. And as we said before, we always look to serve people with sharing things that they can use in their businesses from this side, and also taking things from your side that we can use on this side to improve our world. So I'm very excited about that. And I think that will be happening very soon.
And as we know, everything is online. So if you want to get in touch with myself and Lauren, you go and check it out on our social media pages. And as she mentioned, Frank will also be here joining us, and you can also get in touch with him. Lance, thank you so much. Thanks for chatting, and
thanks for having me. My absolute pleasure. It was so great to see you.
Chat to you soon. Have a good one.
We'll chat to you soon, Kev. Have a great week.
You too. Bye.